Hello and welcome back to the Monsters of Monster Hunter Double Cross, where today we're playing with Uragaan, the monster who is weaker than any other monster in the entire game to poison. We're going to be doing a Hyper Uragaan for a few reasons. First, I haven't done it before. And second, Hyper Uragaan's got a little something special going for it that I want to have a chance to show off. And I think what we're going to do is we are going to eat for attack, and we're going to be eating for specialist, though I need to actually get an attack that will not have fired up thing. Okay, my item set is almost ready, but I actually tried going into this just moments ago, though you're not going to get to see that. And I forgot that cool drinks are a thing, because they are. We're using Adept Sword and Shield with Chaos Oil 2 as our art. And it seems we got supplier. Thanks, Alteroth. So we are, I believe, 3 load screens away from Uragaan. So let's get to it. Uragaan starts in an area that I really wish it never would, because it's too big for that area. Too big, and its moves require much more space than the area provides for it. But hey, look, it's Uragaan. Okay, I guess you can plow us out of the air with your chin. And I guess I was just angled wrong there. Okay, guess I dodged too soon. Yeah, we've got us a poison weapon. We're gonna make this guy unhappy with it, if all goes according to plan. Admittedly, I should be using some affinity oil here. Dang it. So what's my affinity at with the oil? 55%. That ain't bad. And that's before this guy rages. Dang it. Should have dodged towards him rather than away. Yeah, like his rolling attacks in this area, they're just... Once the pillars are gone, it's a little better, but until they are, it's like, why are you even doing this? Ooh. Would have taken the hit if I had actually rolled far enough to get in his path there. I need to remember that Sword and Shield can get 2 jump attacks for going up or down a ledge. And the real reason I need to remember that is because that's about the only way I'm going to manage to get his tail is through rides and jumps. Sword and Shield doesn't exactly have reach. Wow, just straight up misses. Ooh, I really like how, since that thing provides light, you can actually get the little sunshaft type deals going on when the camera is pointed at a monster, and also that, like when the monster is between that and you. It looks nice, is what I'm trying to say. Well, I guess I can just miss there. I need more actual poison applications. Like, I've got the status, I just need it to work. unless I get... Oh, okay, now he's poison. I'm going to have to take advantage of when he's got a hyper face to try and break that face of his. So I would like to break his chin. Doing so makes it the weakest part of his body. Also, incidentally, Uragaan did have a subspecies back in 3U. And I think it was introduced in Portable Third, but I could be wrong about that. It might have been one of the ones that was just... Yeah, I think it was actually one of the ones introduced in 3U. But, yeah, Steel Uragaan, its special thing was it had a few more moves it could use out of its rolls. And it did... it did Stink. Stink was its real claim to fame. But what I was getting at when mentioning it is, in this game, regular Uragaan has stolen the super pound out of a roll that used to be Steel Uragaan exclusive. And we actually saw it a little while ago. And incidentally, if the chin hits you when it does that, I'm pretty sure it's a guaranteed stun. Might not be. That might just be for Crystal Beard. And we'll talk about Crystal Beard next episode, because this is regular Uragaan's episode. Though Steel Uragaan does deserve a bit of a place, or a bit of mention here, because Steel Uragaan was the thing. He may have been smelly, but instead of being golden brown, he was like blue and red. I really liked his color scheme. Like, he had a blue steelish body and a red chin, and it looked really cool, and I liked it. Ow. And as much as I didn't enjoy fighting Steel Uragaan, because turns out I'm not a huge fan of the whole getting soiled thing, I still really like the aesthetic of Steel Uragaan, and I kind of want it back. Another aspect of Uragaan that hasn't been seen in a long time, actually. Back in Tri, Uragaan was really shiny. Must have been like something that they decided to do because it was on the Wii, and that way they could better hide the not so great textures, because the Wii couldn't really do textures that well. A lot of games used shininess to distract from poor texturing. But, yeah, Uragaan was really shiny. Like, it was just... I know you can describe this one as golden, but the one in Tri, that was golden. And I kind of miss that. I would love to get another ride before my Chaos Oil runs out. That was not the time to go for it, though. And before we can see anything truly fancy coming out of this Hyper Uragaan, we're going to need his back to get hyper. And he is a running. I know this isn't Monster Hunter Stories, but I'm going to complain about it here anyway. The fact that in Monster Hunter Stories, Uragaan doesn't get the Rock Breaker ride ability out in the field, like, Uragaan's chin, its whole purpose is to break rocks apart so that he can eat them. Why not give him Rock Breaker? Could have easily been done. I'm a little lucky that that rock there didn't explode. Okay, we got a ride as the Chaos Oil ran out. Great. But I guess since we're out of Chaos Oil, that means that there's no incentive for me to go for the face instead of the tail. So I would like to sever the tail. Just as much as I'd like to break the chin. Because I am planning potentially to not sever the tail on the Crystal Beard. For reasons. Ooh. A pit trap. Go ahead and use this. Oh. Thanks, I guess. Well then. Looked like I was inside the flame effect, and yet I was not. Yo, Uragaan, go for him. Go for the cat. It's kind of interesting that using a whetstone with your weapon out puts the weapon away. Do any other items do that? Okay, I'm trying to go up the ledge, but I guess I wasn't going straight enough towards it. Sounds like we just broke his back. Yep. Unfortunately, our Chaos Oil does lose its stamina stealing effects against hyper monsters, but thankfully, it still has exhaust count as stun on the face. And I would like to get a KO. Ooh, his back is hyper. Like, we're on the right track to get a KO. That much is for certain. So the thing about Hyper Uragaan is its land speed is incredibly high. When it rolls straight, higher than any other monster, if I'm not mistaken. That's the thing that I wanted to show off for Hyper Uragaan. Oh boy. Oh hey, we got an Uragaan Ruby. Of course, it's just a Ruby. This is a G rank Uragaan, not high rank. Come on, game. Get with the times. Need to get back to smacking that face, though, if we want to get a KO. Oh, but we're now out of Chaos Oil, which means I would have to use my shield, which is doable. I just can't do it as often as non-shield attacks. And I can't shield bash out of a jump. We should probably get him out of this little thin area. Thankfully, he's quite capable of moving himself. I do like how in G rank in this game, Uragaan gets a little bit more creative with how he throws his rocks. Also, I'm pretty sure the rocks used to be bigger back in Tri and 3U. They seem pretty small in this game. Though maybe that's just my having been playing stories recently talking, because in stories they're freaking massive. And we ran out of our cool drink again. So, cool drink it is. I actually really like Uragaan. It's another one of those monsters that doesn't behave like other ones, which most Brute Wyverns are. Like, Uragaan doesn't even do the same tail sweeps as other monsters. It's perhaps the most unique Brute Wyvern in that regard. Like, it rolls around, it's got gas, which apparently it can now do out of a roll. Completely forgot about that. It's got its chin slams that it does. Its tail sweeps spread rocks around, and then it can pound the ground to explode the rocks. Uragaan's a cool monster. I really appreciate it. And also, it's one of the few monsters where severing the tail actually confers an advantage other than just reducing the range on its tail moves. With his tail severed, he can't spread rocks. At least not the same number of them. That's actually varied from game to game. There have been games where a severed Uragaan tail is incapable of producing rocks, and games where a severed Uragaan tail is incapable of producing more than one rock. At least I think. Ow. Also, Uragaan's just got a very unique look to him. Between the chin and the armor running down his back. He's one of those monsters where you can just take one look at him and pretty much know what his whole deal is. But most people don't expect him to roll when they first fight him, which is just an added surprise. And yet when you see it happen, the animation justifies it. And then you notice how, oh, all those rocks on his back act like treads, like tire treads. Like, it's a real... Uragaan is a really well done monster. I really like it. It's one of my favorites. Even if I've never enjoyed Uragaan's armor, and for the weaponry, it's pretty much Grongigus or bust, in my opinion, I still really enjoy the monster and the fight. And Uragaan was originally created to basically be a replacement for Gravios. And yet it has exceeded Gravios in so many ways. Like, I don't think Gravios does anything better than Uragaan in terms of a gameplay perspective. Aesthetically, arguments can be made. But in terms of pure gameplay, I think Uragaan has Gravios beat on every count. it manages to be challenging without just being annoying and spammy. Its tremors are, in my eyes, more justified. Because Gravios does tremors by jumping, which, I mean, sure, it makes sense, but the fact that it only ever jumps straight up and down, and it no longer produces tremors if it's had anything at all broken, basically. I guess Gravios does better justify having a heat aura that it can expel. But even Uragaan is just fine. The sleep is a little weird, but it's nothing game-breaking. It doesn't ruin the monster. And also, at least on classic Uragaan, all of the breaks actually really benefit you if you get them. Cutting the tail reduces the number of rocks it can throw, and breaking the chin turns the chin from one of its strongest parts to its absolute weakest. And a monster that can convince you to target something that was at one point its most durable part is doing something right in my book. Plus, with the chin just being so big, it's so satisfying to break it. It just makes you want to take a hammer to that thing, doesn't it? Like, I love cutting tails, but Uragaan is one of the monsters that makes me seriously consider using a hammer just because, I mean, look at that chin. And there's the chin break. So now if we hit the chin, we're hitting the absolute weakest part of his body. But we still haven't even gotten the tail break. I am not confident in my ability to get the tail cut at this point, though. I guess now's a chance to go for it a little bit. Unfortunately, we don't have much reach, so staying in contact with the tail is difficult. Uragaan is also mineable when knocked down, which is just cool. Gravios doesn't have anything like that going for him. We're going to need to go back to base camp for more hot drinks at this, or cool drinks at this rate. Ow. And since both cats are dead. Life powders help. So yeah, that right there used to be exclusive to Steel Uragaan. Whereas regular Uragaan would only ever do that back in the day. There's the tail break. Ow. Oh, he baited me. Going for the chin pound there. If he hadn't gone for the chin pound, I would have dodged just right through the roll. But the chin pound? He got out of the way and delayed his hitting me. Always feels bad to get baited by a brute wyvern. Like, you look at them and you don't think, oh yeah, that's definitely an intelligent beast. I mean, even the name suggests a lack of intelligence now. So here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to use this part breaker oil. And I am going to combine it with a shock trap up here, just because it's more level than just about anywhere else. And with that, we might be able to do some good work on the tail. Nifty green glow on the sword, too. Okay, Uragaan, I'm going to need you to come the whole way. You're almost here. Just a little further, buddy. That's what I wanted. Got a few hits. Not as many as I would have liked. Dang it. I'd imagine we're not too far from another ride, but then again, I've actually been going for the face so much that might not be the case. Because the face is sadly not a mount zone. Okay, I guess we weren't too far from another ride. And we've got our part breaker oil going, so we'll be able to at least do some more work on the tail. Not nearly as much work as I would have wanted, though. And at this point, I have given up on getting a KO. For multiple reasons. First of all, if we were to focus on the chin for the purposes of getting a KO, we would be doing a lot of damage and potentially stealing away our ability to even get a tail cut. And second, because it would just take so much effort at this point. Like, we've let the stun status completely fall off, I'm certain. You want to maybe get closer to over here? Thanks. Okay, maybe not by doing that. Ow. Ow. Yeah, I think we'd have better luck just trying to knock him down by hitting his feet than trying to knock him down with a KO. Though getting a knockdown is basically one of the best ways we have of trying to get at his tail now. Because it's a little out of reach by default. Hyper Uragaan with a hyper chin is a little bit intimidating. Those chin moves are strong enough normally. Add the extra hyper damage to them and they can become quite devastating. Get a little stamina here. Something I've been wondering for a while, are there any weapons that sheath faster than Sword and Shield? Like, it seems a little interesting that they decide that the weapon that I'm pretty sure sheaths faster than anything else should also be the one that gets to use items without sheathing. Like, it's a much smaller bonus than it feels like. But honestly, if you're trying to make weapon-exclusive bonuses that feel great but don't overpower a weapon, that's exactly what you want. That's nothing to do with Uragaan. Uragaan is more hammer than Sword and Shield. That much is clear. Can't... Oh, and of course, right after I use my last cool drink, it goes somewhere where it's not needed. And before too long, we're going to get to talk about Durambros, who's basically reverse Uragaan. That's going to be fun. Another thing I really like about Uragaan, the sound design. Between the sound of its chin hitting the ground, which really just sells the power and weight behind it, to the sounds that the creature itself makes. Like its growls and its roar especially, I think is one of my favorite monster roars in the game. Just in terms of how it sounds. I really like the sound of it. Like, that is a damn cool roar. I love it. Ow. That's not a good sign if we want to cut the tail. Which I do. Just fighting Uragaan here. In terms of how it looks, like its body structure and all that, it's great. The textures are also pretty darn good. The fight mechanics are interesting and unique and fun. The sounds are great. Uragaan is a phenomenal monster. I really like it. And like, I don't ordinarily think Uragaan when I think of my favorite monsters, but every time I fight it, it's like, damn, that's a really good monster. Like, I can't think of anything I dislike about Uragaan. Other than maybe when it's rolling, it's a little bit tough to keep up with, but that's kind of the point. And the thing is, most of the time when it rolls, it's either going to you or it's going to be rolling right back over you. So it's not a huge deal that you can't keep up with it. Unfortunately, I only have the one pit trap. So I've got no means of immobilizing this guy in a way where I can get at his tail without riding him or just knocking him down. Gonna let him sleep, though. That way I can at least get one hit on the tail. Apparently Chaos Oil is less potent than just regular Affinity Oil. Makes sense, considering it's all three oils in one, that it would be less potent than the individual ones. Or sorry, all four oils in one, because there are four. Also, the animation for Uragaan is fantastic as well, but that's true for most of the monsters. Ooh, that was a tail flinch. We might be close to the cut. I just gotta hope we're closer to the cut than the kill. There it is. Let's see if we can't get him to try and throw some rocks now that the tail is cut. Yo, Uragaan. No rocks came out there, but he was also facing a wall, which doesn't help. Like, I want him to do a solid rock throw not towards a wall. Because sometimes the rocks don't come out just because he's too close to a wall. So maybe if there's no wall in the way, we'll get the rocks. Or maybe we won't get the rocks, just proving that the rocks don't happen when the tail's cut. Yep, that's no rocks. You've given me what I want. You are free to die. I really wish Sword and Shield had just a little bit more reach. And just looking at the leg textures, they look pretty darn nice. The tail texture as well. Like, most of Uragan's textures look pretty good. Like on the side of the tail, on the underside of the tail, on the legs. Like, look at that. That looks great. On his sides, that looks great too. I wish we could get a good look at the face, but from what I was seeing during the quest, even the face looks pretty nice. Like, this kind of coal-like substance on the bottom is not great in terms of texture, because it's mostly just blackness, but in terms of how they make it shine with the light, that just completely makes up for it. Like, most of the textures on Uragaan are really good. Like, even relative to other monsters. I think, like, pretty much everyone involved with Uragaan was putting in some of their A game, in my opinion. Uragaan is a phenomenal monster. Joy to fight, joy to look at, joy to listen to. And really, what else do you need? Other than weaponry and armor, which I'm not a fan of, but the armor, it's because it's for weapons that I don't use mostly. And for the weaponry, it's just because I prefer my weapons to be sharp. Though Grongigus was overpowered back in 3U. There's no denying that. Anyway, that's it for Uragaan. Join us next time for Crystalbeard Uragaan, an Uragaan trying to impress the ladies. See you then, friends.